Like, I was like, I'll edit it myself. I edited it all. It took like a couple hours, and I sent it back.
Ever find yourself watching a cartoon marshmallow tell a story about their childhood, and suddenly you're laughing so hard you forget you were supposed to be doing something important? That's the pull of YouTube animators. They don't just draw, they turn everyday awkwardness into entertainment gold. And depending on who you ask, some are loved like internet royalty, while others are dragged like villains in their own comment sections. Let's start with the favorites, the ones who managed to turn doodles and honesty into full-time careers. If you've been on YouTube long enough, you already know the odd one is out. James, the guy behind it, took a goofy little marshmallow character and made it one of the most recognizable faces on the platform. His videos aren't just animations, they're storytime therapy sessions. He'll talk about something as simple as working at Subway or what it was like being homeschooled, and suddenly you realize you've watched 10 videos back to back. That's not an accident, it's charm and relatability wrapped up in bubble-shaped characters. People don't just watch him, they feel like they're hanging out with him. Right alongside him, Jaden Animations carved out her own empire. What makes Jaden stand out is how she mixes goofy, everyday stories with raw honesty about mental health, social anxiety, and the side of life that doesn't usually get animated. It's vulnerable but never heavy-handed, and that's why she hits so hard with viewers. One minute she's talking about Pokemon challenges, the next she's casually dropping insights about life that make you pause. That balance between humor and heart is what makes her videos not just entertaining, but oddly comforting. You don't just subscribe for the animation, you subscribe for the feeling of, she gets it. And then there's Alan Becker. Even if you don't know his name, you've definitely seen his work. The Animator vs. Animation series is legendary. Stick figures rebelling against their creator, battling inside desktops, breaking the fourth wall in ways that make you forget you're watching 2D. He doesn't need to narrate his life, he lets stick figures do the talking. And they do it spectacularly. Alan's stuff proves that you don't need words when the animation is sharp enough to make you care about a stick figure's survival. Now, on the complete opposite end of style, Felix Colgrave is like the surrealist painter of YouTube animation. His work isn't relatable story time. It's bizarre, it's dreamlike, it's the kind of thing you watch and go, what did I just see? And then immediately hit replay. Double King, one of his most famous pieces, feels like if Hieronymus Bosch discovered After Effects and a twisted sense of humor. It's weird, it's beautiful, and it's proof that YouTube animation isn't just about relatability. It can be art. Real, unapologetically strange art. Domix, on the other hand, is more grounded. His channel feels like that one friend you always call to vent to. His voice is casual, almost like he's just pacing in his room while telling you a story, and that makes the animation feel like an extension of a conversation. His content has this timeless quality. You can watch his older videos today, and they still feel fresh. It's not about trending topics, it's about human quirks, relationships, and the kind of thoughts we all have but rarely say out loud. So why do people latch onto these animators so hard? It's the combination of storytelling and personality. Think about it. Animation on YouTube isn't Pixar. It's not polished studios with hundreds of employees. It's individuals sitting down and drawing their lives frame by frame, adding voiceover, music, timing, and somehow making millions of people care. That kind of intimacy doesn't happen with your average YouTuber vlog. There's something about watching a story illustrated right in front of you that feels different. It feels more personal, like the creator is putting pieces of themselves into every drawing. The Odd Ones Out resonates because he makes childhood memories feel universal. Jaden connects because she's open about struggles most people keep private. Alan Becker inspires because he turns the simplest form of drawing into epic storytelling. Felix amazes because he creates worlds that don't follow rules but still make sense in their own chaos. Domix comforts because his voice and humor are so familiar. It's like you're sitting on the couch together. Each one hits a different part of the human experience, and that's why they're loved. Not for perfect art, not for high-budget production, but for capturing what makes life funny, awkward, strange, or worth sharing. And let's be honest, there's also nostalgia. A lot of people who grew up on these creators now treat them like internet comfort food. You might not watch every upload anymore, but the moment you see a new video in your feed, it feels like revisiting an old friend. Animation has that timeless pull. It doesn't age the way trends do. A story about a bad summer job or the nightmare of public speaking is just as funny 5 years later as it was the day it dropped. But here's the thing about the internet. Where there's love, there's also backlash. For every creator people can't get enough of, there's someone else viewers roast endlessly. And sometimes it's not even about the quality of the animation, it's about personality, drama, or just plain controversy. That's where the most hated side of YouTube animation comes in. And trust me, it's messy. Welcome to the other side of animation, the ones people love to hate. First up, Antoons. If you've been around the animation community, you've probably seen the name pop up in arguments, reaction videos, or rants. Antoons has built a reputation not so much for the animations themselves, but for the controversies that orbit around them. He's been accused of tasteless jokes, jabs that cross into offensive territory, and, at times, mocking communities that already face enough heat online. You know that one kid in school who always said the joke that made everyone else go silent? Yeah, that's basically the vibe here. Some defend him as just edgy, while others are convinced it's more than that. Either way, his channel is a magnet for drama. Then there's Futuristic Hub, who might not be as widely loved or loathed for content itself, but for the way he's handled critics. There are endless whispers and allegations about copyright strikes against other YouTubers who dared to criticize or parody his videos. And if there's one thing the internet hates more than bad content, it's someone who tries to silence criticism. Because once viewers smell censorship, they pounce harder. It's like waving a red flag at a bull. Suddenly, people who didn't even know about Futuristic Hub are making entire videos breaking down what he allegedly did wrong. In the YouTube ecosystem, that kind of reputation sticks like gum under a school desk. Now, the thing with hated animators is that sometimes the hate has less to do with actual content and more to do with the persona behind the screen. With Antoons, it's the humor style that gets labeled offensive. With Futuristic Hub, it's the behavior outside the animation itself, how disputes and disagreements get handled publicly. Wait, scratch that. Here's the truth. On YouTube, how you behave matters just as much as what you create. Fans don't just buy into the videos, they buy into the person behind them. If that trust is cracked, no amount of flashy animation can patch it back up. Think about it. When someone like The Odd One Sout posts a video, the conversation is about the story he told. When someone like Antoons stirs things up, the conversation shifts to debates about morality, freedom of speech, and whether jokes can go too far. It's less about the animation and more about the conversation it sparks. And whether you agree or disagree, that drama fuels engagement. It's the same reason reality TV shows never die. People love watching the chaos unfold, even if they swear they hate it. Another thing people don't talk about enough is how audiences project expectations onto creators. When animators first start, they're just random people drawing and narrating their lives. But once they blow up, suddenly they're role models. Fans expect them to behave perfectly, avoid every mistake, and align with every moral standard. That's a heavy load for anyone, especially for creators who started out just making goofy cartoons. Slip up once and the internet courtroom opens. There's no trial, no defense, just memes, rants, and think pieces. That's how someone can slide from beloved to hated so quickly. So what does this say about YouTube animation as a whole? That it's not just about the art style or the editing, it's about personality. Viewers don't subscribe to moving drawings, they subscribe to people, and people are messy. They're complicated, contradictory, sometimes hilarious, sometimes problematic. The love-hate spectrum of animators is less about good versus bad content and more about this person feels authentic to me versus this person broke my trust. In a weird way, it makes the whole community feel alive. Messy, but alive. And here's the funny part. The very existence of most hated animators gives the most loved ones even more shine. When you look at someone like Jaden being open about her struggles, or Alan Becker quietly releasing another masterpiece, The contrast feels sharper because you know the darker side exists too. It's like appreciating a calm beach more after watching a storm tear through another one. The love hits harder because the hate exists. So as we slide deeper into this rabbit hole, remember, it's not really about good versus evil. It's about perception. Fans decide who wears the crown and who wears the target. And in a world where algorithms reward any kind of engagement, love or hate, it's no wonder that controversial animators keep thriving, even when the comment section looks like a battlefield. And we're not done yet. We've talked about the darlings, we've walked through the drama, but there's still one more layer to peel back. Because the truth is, loved and hated aren't permanent titles. Animators switch lanes all the time. Heroes stumble, villains get redemption arcs, and sometimes the most unexpected creators win audiences back. The final piece of this story is about that blurry middle ground, the gray zone where popularity and controversy collide. Let's talk about how animators fall into that gray zone. Some creators start off beloved because they're relatable and fresh, but once they've been around long enough, cracks start to show. Maybe they get accused of selling out, maybe their content starts feeling repetitive, or maybe they make one bad video that rubs everyone the wrong way. Suddenly, the same audience that boosted them to the top starts questioning them. And if there's one universal rule of the internet, it's that nobody gets a perfect track record. One misstep and it's a feeding frenzy. We've seen this cycle again and again. Animators who once stood as fan favorites suddenly find themselves trending for all the wrong reasons. It could be something small, like a poorly worded joke in a video, or something much bigger, like drama with other creators. Either way, the backlash spreads faster than the original video itself. YouTube thrives on a reaction content, and when an animator messes up, there's a whole ecosystem of commentators ready to dissect it, exaggerate it, and make sure it hits every feed. It's not just about being hated, it's about becoming content for everyone else. But here's the flip side. Some creators manage to turn controversy into a weird kind of strength. They own up, laugh at themselves, or pivot in a way that feels authentic, and audiences forgive them. In fact, sometimes people respect them more for the recovery than they did before the downfall. Redemption arcs are real, and honestly, they can be just as compelling as the original rise to fame. Think about how many animators started out shaky, maybe even clowned for their rough beginnings, only to polish their style and come back stronger. The internet loves a glow-up story. A creator who pushes through negativity, keeps posting, and improves often earns a new wave of fans who admire the persistence. It's like watching an underdog come back into the fight. Love and hate blur together, and suddenly, the same people who once posted "this channel is trash" are quietly hitting the subscribe button. Personality, past behavior, and public image weigh just as heavily as animation skill. That's why someone like Alan Becker can upload a minimalist stick figure video and be showered with admiration, while another animator might drop something equally clever but get nitpicked to pieces. It's not fair, but it's real, and we can't ignore the role of fandoms. The odd ones out has a massive, loyal fan base. Jaden Animation's community is famously supportive. These fandoms act like shields. If anyone takes a jab at them, the fans swarm in like bodyguards. Meanwhile, creators who lack that strong community support are way more vulnerable. The difference between being loved or hated often comes down to whether your fans are willing to go to bat for you in the comments. On YouTube, your audience isn't just your viewers, they're your defense team. But sometimes, even the most loyal fandoms can turn sour. Audiences get tired of defending creators when the controversies pile up. That's when love flips to hate the fastest. It's like when a friend lets you down one too many times. You don't just stop trusting them, you feel betrayed. And betrayal stings worse than dislike ever could. That's why some of the most intense backlash comes from people who were once hardcore fans. So what does all this tell us? That being a YouTube animator is a balancing act. You're not just an artist, you're a brand, a personality, a public figure. People aren't only judging the drawings on the screen, they're judging the voice behind them, the behavior outside the videos, and even the vibe you put out on social media. Loved animators create worlds that feel safe, relatable, or inspiring. Hated animators break that illusion, whether through tasteless jokes, questionable behavior, or just plain arrogance. And once the illusion cracks, it's hard to glue back together. But let's zoom out for a second, because whether you're talking about the most loved or the most hated, one thing is undeniable. Animators keep pushing YouTube in directions nobody expects. They bring variety, creativity, and a sense of raw honesty that polished corporate content can't replicate. Whether you're laughing at the odd once-outs, awkward childhood stories, marveling at Alan Becker's stick figure battles, or even watching the latest Antunes drama unfold on Twitter, you're engaging. You're talking about it, and that's the heartbeat of the platform: engagement. What's also fascinating is how much animation as a medium gives creators the freedom to stretch reality. Unlike live action, where you're limited by what a camera can capture, animation lets you bend moments into something more vivid, more ridiculous, or more emotional than they might have been in real life. Storytime animators like Jaden or Domix take everyday events, a bad haircut, an awkward date, a childhood memory, and exaggerate them just enough to make the story entertaining while still feeling familiar. It's like watching your own life retold with brighter colors and sharper punchlines. On the flip side, controversial animators exaggerate in a very different direction. Instead of making the ordinary feel bigger, they push boundaries, poke at nerves, and test how far humor or satire can go before it turns sour. The goal isn't comfort or relatability, it's shock, provocation, or sometimes just stirring the pot for attention. They thrive on reactions, whether it's outrage, confusion, or nervous laughter, because controversy guarantees eyeballs. Even when viewers dislike the content, they're still talking about it, sharing it, and fueling its reach. In a world driven by clicks and engagement, controversy itself becomes part of the brand. And here's where the divide really shows. Both sides are using the same tool, exaggeration, but the impact is wildly different. Loved animators heighten reality in a way that makes you laugh and say, "Wow, that's so me." Hated animators stretch it in a way that makes you flinch and wonder if they've gone too far. One leaves you feeling seen, the other leaves you feeling attacked. That's the razor-thin line that decides whether an audience showers you with loyalty or lights up the comment section with backlash. And here's the twist: sometimes hated animators still influence the space. Even if you can't stand their content, you can't deny they spark conversations. They test limits in ways that more safe creators avoid. In a way, they act as the boundary pushers, showing where the line is, even if they trip over it. Their presence makes the most loved animators shine brighter by contrast. You appreciate Jaden's kindness more when you've just seen someone else's cruelty. You admire Alan Becker's artistry more when you've watched someone else take shortcuts. Love and hate feed off each other in this strange ecosystem. At the end of the day, the animation community on YouTube is less about flawless reputations and more about connection. Who connects with audiences consistently, who breaks that trust, and who manages to earn it back. That cycle is what keeps people talking, debating, and watching. Because as much as audiences say they want positivity only, the truth is, drama and controversy fuel just as much engagement as wholesome stories. The most loved wouldn't stand out as much without the most hated lurking in the background. So whether you're binging the odd once out while eating cereal, replaying Jaden's Pokemon challenge for the 50th time, catching Alan Becker's stick figure epic like it's a Marvel film, or rolling your eyes at the latest animator drama thread, one thing's clear: animation on YouTube isn't just alive, it's thriving, messy, and all. It's proof that creativity mixed with personality is still one of the most powerful forces on the platform. And now, let's land this plane. If you've stuck with me through this roller coaster of love and hate, you're clearly just as fascinated by this world as I am. So here's the deal. Drop a comment with your pick for the most loved or most hated animator. Let's see who makes the top of your list. Smash that like button if you enjoyed hanging out, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next deep dive into the weird and wonderful corners of YouTube. Because love them or hate them, animators are shaping the platform in ways we can't ignore. And the story, it's still being drawn one frame at a time.